We said that the second death is death from which there is no what? No resurrection. Did Jesus resurrect? So did he suffer second death? No. And let me say it this way. Jesus suffered the experience of second death. He felt like the wicked will feel outside the holy city when they realize that their life is going to be snuffed out forever and they will forever cease to exist. Jesus felt the anguish of separation from God. The anguish of knowing that his life was coming to an end. In fact, in Desire of Ages, that magnificent book, it says that he could not see beyond the portals of the tomb. He thought that sin was so great and so offensive to his Father that the separation from his Father would be eternal. In other words, Jesus felt the anguish of everlasting separation from God, but the sins that he bore were not his. The sins that he bore were the sins of the world. So you say if he didn't suffer second death, then sin wasn't paid for because the wages of sin is death, second death. Well, here's where the ceremonial of the Day of Atonement comes in. Leviticus 16 and verse 7. Speaking about 2 goats that were chosen on the Day of Atonement, it says, he shall take the 2 goats and present them before the Lord at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. So 2 goats were chosen. 1 goat was for the Lord, and the other goat was for Azazel. Now let me say that in Hebrew thinking, in Jewish thinking, in fact, if you go to the apocryphal book of Enoch, you'll find that the Jews believed that Azazel was the prince of demons. They believed that Azazel was the devil himself. And now I want you to notice Leviticus 16, verses 20 to 22. But before I read these verses, let me ask you this question. What happened in the daily ceremonial in the sanctuary? And an animal was sacrificed. What happened with the blood? The blood was taken into the sanctuary, and sin was transferred from the sinner who put his hand on the head of the animal. And then the animal was slain, and then through the blood, the sin was transferred where? Into the sanctuary. So let me ask you, were those sins that were transferred into the sanctuary forgiven sins? Yeah. The sins that Jesus transfers to the sanctuary are forgiven sins. Isn't that comforting news? You know, he's not registering those things up there to hold them against you. What God is doing is he's introducing sin into the sanctuary, covered by the blood of the sacrifice, covered by the blood of Jesus. In other words, forgiven sins are placed in the sanctuary. And what did that do with the sanctuary? It contaminated the sanctuary. It defiled the sanctuary. If you don't believe it, read Hebrews 9, verse 23. It says that the heavenly things had to be cleansed. Daniel chapter 8, verse 14 says, unto 2,300 days, and the sanctuary shall be cleansed. In other words, all of the sins that went into the sanctuary through the blood, eventually those sins had to be cleansed from the sanctuary. Notice Leviticus chapter 16, verses 20 to 22. This is what happened on the Day of Atonement. And this is a very important point. And when he has made an end of atoning for the holy place, that is, of atoning for the sanctuary, let me ask you, the scapegoat ceremony, did that take place after the sanctuary had been cleansed, or did it take place before the sanctuary was cleansed? After the sanctuary was cleansed. After the first goat had been sacrificed and died. The first goat represents the sacrifice of Jesus. In other words, after the first goat was sacrificed for the sins of the people, the high priest cleansed the sanctuary, and then he came to the second goat. So it says, and when he has made an end of atoning for the holy place, the tabernacle of meeting, and the altar, he shall bring the what kind of goat?